When you pick up the phone and get the police,
or you get a letter from your favorite niece,
or census checks, population increase.
P.S. That's public service. When you get all the facts about aspirants,
Or a new bus service is about to begin.
or Internal Revenue calls you in.
P.S. That's public service. We're here because you need what we do.
We're here to provide that service for you,
Just for you.
just for you.
When you get a license to sell wine and beer.
Or warnings are heard about smog in the air.
Or you get free help with a new career.
P.S. That's public service. When you climb in a jet and take a safe flight,
Or the book you wrote needs a copyright.
Or farmers get help in fighting the blight.
P.S. That's public service. We're here because you need what we do. We're here to provide that service for you.
just for you.
Just for you. P.S. We may even have a job for you too. P.S. That's public service. P.S. That's public service. P.S. That's public service. P.S. That's public service. We do it for you.
In this series, we talk about you in public service. Today, we're going to talk about how you go about doing that, how you apply for a job in public service. Hi, I'm Hank, and you'll see my picture back there as a public service worker.
Mine too. I'm Juanita, and there I am as a lab technician from the Public Health Service.
And that's me as a law enforcement officer. And this is me as Charles. And my friend here is Susan.
Hi. Don't I get to show off my picture, too?
Sure, go ahead.
There's old Susan as a census taker from the regulatory and census records.
You get the idea. All of those pictures are of us as public service workers. And if you paid attention to our opening song, we were public service workers there, too.
That's right. But you know, Hank, that's not surprising, because today public service employees are at work in occupations representing nearly every kind of job found in the private sector, as well as some unique to federal government, such as postal clerks.
That's me. And to paraphrase a very important motto, neither rain nor snow nor hail shall stay my way. Other unique federal government jobs are foreign service officers, immigration inspectors, and border patrolmen.
And internal revenue agents. Public service jobs comprise a significant part of the non-agricultural workforce in every state. Public service jobs can be found in units of government, such as counties, municipalities, towns, school districts. More than 25% of the state and local government workforce are employed in public service jobs.
Federal, state, and local employees are at work in offices and laboratories, in colleges, in public schools, and in other educational programs and services.
They're also to be found in hospitals, clinics, libraries.
In law enforcement and fire protection.
In housing and urban renewal, in highway construction and maintenance.
In parks and recreation, in public utilities, and in natural resources and conservation.
In all of these activities and so many more, workers are needed in such various occupations as clerk, economist, mathematician, electrician, engineer, forester, educator.
When we consider the many different governmental agencies and programs there are, and they're growing every day, we can see the potential, the opportunity for working in public service. Today, we're going to show you how to get started.
P.S. That's public service.
We're here because you need what we do. We're here to provide that service for you.
Just for you.
Just for you. P.S. We may even have a job for you too. P.S. That's public service. P.S. That's public service. P.S. That's public service. P.S. That's public service.
Let's take first things first. Even though all the career occupations we've just seen are exciting and different in many ways, to get those jobs, each person had to start at the beginning. A first job. In public service, we call that first job entry level, the beginning step, the first job on the career ladder. That's what we're talking about today, public service jobs, local, state, and federal. All operate under a civil service system. That means that application, examination, and interview determines who gets the job. But there are steps to take even before you've decided to fill out an application.
That's right, Hank. You want to know which family you should apply to, because in public service, jobs come in family groups. Generally speaking, there are 8 broad family groups to consider. This is government agency management, responsible for staffing and for every cent that is spent. Someone has to organize, keep records, and pay all the bills for the government's management.
Social and economic services are this department's public service business, working for the betterment of all of the people, wherever and whenever they can.
Educational services are what helps everybody grow, from kindergarten to graduate school. You grow as a person in what you know. Vocational training, liberal arts, adult education. It is the function of educational services to supply knowledge, knowledge you can use.
Parks, forests, mining, fish, and game all come under the Resource Management Department's control. Their responsibility covers the air we breathe and the water we sometimes take for granted. Resource management is an interesting job choice. What do you think?
Urban, rural, and community development falls into the category of building management. Who builds what, how high, and when and where the face of your city is urban, rural, and community development's area of concern.
Public safety, corrections, and judicial services, protector of lives and property, that's this department's concern. As firemen paramedics, they're the first to arrive on the scene. Emergency alert, they're trained to be the doctor's aides in the field.
Regulatory services and records have to do with taxes on what you import, make, and grow. They keep the public records, and you might say they're in charge of American history.
Transportation management is there whenever you take a trip, whether by train, plane, truck, or bus or boat. They enforce safety regulations which govern and regulate transportation throughout our country.
With all those career occupational potentials to consider, there must be one for you. Let's find out how we can get there.
This looks like a nice job here in the tax office. How do you go about getting a job like this?
Well, this is a public service job. You have to take a test and then pass an interview, and then you're hired.
Why did you choose this job?
Well, I checked out all the public service job areas and then took a good look at myself and decided what I was really interested in. And I decided that a career in the Regulatory Services Department was just for me.
You mean you wanted to be a tax clerk?
Well, I'm going to school night studying that, but no, I'd like to be a tax auditor or better, but you have to start someplace. Here are the forms you want.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Next.
Say, I couldn't help overhearing what you were saying.
Mm-hmm.
You said that you thought about what you wanted to do, and now you're doing it. Where did you find out about these jobs?
Oh, from newspapers and local libraries and state employment services. They all have information about public service jobs. All you have to do is ask. Speaking of asking, what can I do for you?
I just came for a couple of 1040s.
Oh, fine, sure.
Say, you mind if I ask you another question?
No, go right ahead, ask.
How did you decide about this job?
Well, Mr. Gomez at the State Employment Service was very helpful. He said that if I checked out the authorized referral services and then sat down and made a long list of what I really wanted to do, you know, what I liked in school, what I hated in school, took a good look at myself, whether I liked to work with people or whether I'd rather work with paper by myself, that the answer would come to me. You know what? He was right.
Thanks. I'll try that.
Good.
So long.
Good luck. Next.
Guess what?
You overheard, too.
Well, that too. But I just wanted to tell you that you are a fine advertisement for public service.
Well, thank you very much. What can I do for you?
I need a Schedule C and a Schedule D.
C and D, right.
And may I ask you a question, too?
Sure.
Besides listing the things you like to do and that stuff, what else should you consider?
Well, do you like to work outdoors or indoors? Do you like to work with mechanical things, you know, like tinkering with electronics? Are you good at record keeping? How's your energy level? Do you like to do really physical type work? Or is there any physical handicap that might keep you from any kind of the job choices? All those things.
I see. Well, thank you.
Sure. Is there anything else I can do for you?
Not that I can think of at this moment. Thank you very much.
Sure. Weren't you two just here?
Yes, but I had another question I wanted to ask.
Me too.
Is there anything else we should know if we want a job in public service?
Well, you should start thinking about what you want to do 5 years from now. Kind of a career path, so you could start getting on the right road today. Oh, you could change your mind, of course, but as I said, you have to start someplace.
Speaking of which, why don't we do just that? What are you guys doing for lunch?
Nothing. Why don't we have lunch together?
Maybe we can work something out.
Great.
Hey, wait a minute. I'm on my lunch break, too, and I'm the public service expert.
Well, come on. Let's see, we found out what works best for you through self-evaluation.
Well, doing it yourself is just one way. There are other official ways of finding out about the same thing. For instance, there's a test called the occupational preference.
Oh, what's that?
Just what it says. It gives a professional guidance counselor a chance to find out about you and evaluate you and your preferences.
And then the counselor can tell you whether or not they're the right choices.
Well, sort of. The counselor evaluates your test and then matches it against other standards. And he also gets a chance to evaluate you and your job choice and see if it's realistic.
You mean he can tell if you really want it or if you're just talking?
Exactly. But there's another factor, too. Even if the tests show that you really want the job you say you want, what it doesn't show is do you have the ability to do the job.
Oh, well, what would you do about that?
Do what I do. Go back to the old report cards. Look them over. There are your grades and your strengths and your weaknesses.
What if you goofed off in school but could have gotten better marks if you tried?
Well, there are other tests to help you there, really good ones. Aptitude tests and achievement tests.
Oh, yeah, I took one of those in school.
Oh, then you already know about it. It shows what you can do and what you can't do.
Well, if I wanted to take a test like that, what would I do?
So what I did, I went down to the State Employment Service. Very little cost. Local libraries and post offices and adult education centers have information when the tests are given and how you go about taking them.
I see. So first we draw up a picture of ourselves. Then we take an occupation test to see if that was a true picture. And then we take an aptitude test to see if we really can do what we think we want to do.
Right on, that's it.
Okay, I have this beautiful picture of myself working in a laboratory. In school, I always got really good grades in math and science, and I just love science. And I had 2 years of business school, except now I'm being a typist in a clothing company.
Well, listen, typing can always come in handy. Everything we learn is very helpful. In my department, the Regulatory Services and Control is the Food and Drug Administration, and their entry-level job is as Food and Drug Inspection trainees.
Hey, that sounds really interesting. I think I'll look into that one.
And as for me, I like to build things. Screws and pipes, wires and bolts. I like all those things.
Well, then there's civil engineers and safety engineers in the transportation department.
I love books. I love to read. I spend hours in the library. Maybe that's what I should look into.
Wait a minute. Hold it. You don't have to make the decision right now. Your first job, the entry-level job, is just a job. Remember, you're not applying for just a job. You're applying for a career, a whole future.
Okay, so say you start out as a trainee. You can go from there to... Where can you go from there?
Aha! That is question number 12. Charlie, you gonna eat that pickle?
Well, I was, but for all the information, please, have a pickle.
Yeah, sure, thank you.
You mean you left me as a trainee for a pickle?
Okay.
Where do we go from there? In public service jobs, there have what we call career ladders, which are steps that start at the entry-level trainee, then go to clerk, then to aide, to assistant, and finally, department head.
That's civil service promotion, right? You get numbers for every step you go.
Right. Susan, why don't you tell them about it? I want to eat my pickle.
Well, I don't think I know it all, but I do know that every so often you're eligible to move up a grade if you can pass a test. And you start working on the next step right up as far as you can go.
Right. Well, department head recommendation does help. But you get the idea. You come in as entry-level trainee, and then the rest of it is entirely up to you.
What do we do now?
Well, you just go get an application and apply.
Where do we do that?
Well, contact your local employment service office. They have pamphlets and information about public service jobs you probably never even thought of considering. And many of them are in your own hometowns on the state and local level.
Hank, thank you very much. I'm on my way.
Good.
Me too.
Sounds great.
Glad to help.
Thank you.
Ah, what a beautiful day.
Gee, here I am talking about public service jobs, and if I don't get back from lunch, I'm not going to have any public service job to get back to.
There's a great job waiting just for you. Oh, yeah, I've said it. You may ask, well, now what do I do? Go out and get it. You got the knowledge, you got the skills, you got what it takes. You may be in for a couple of spills, but you only need the proper break. There's a great job waiting just for you in the public service. You might think it's too good to be true, but don't be nervous. Knock on the door, fill out the form, tackle the interview. You're gonna do just fine. There's a great job waiting, and it's just for you, and it's just for you.
Let's backtrack a bit and ask a few questions on what we've covered so far today. This is question number 1. People are usually chosen under the civil service system on the basis of A, interest, B, ability, C, personal friendship, D, all three. The answer is B, ability. Your civil service test evaluates you and everyone else taking the test. The people hired depend on 1, how many jobs there are to fill, and 2, where your test score places you. Jobs are filled from the top down based on how many job openings there are to fill. And they're filled on ability. That brings up question number 2. A good way to find out one's ability is to take A, an occupational preference test, B, an interest inventory, C, an aptitude test, D, none of these. The answer is C, an aptitude test. It helps determine if you have chosen realistic goals for yourself or whether you should be making some adjustments in your thinking.
Susan, I have question number 3. It pertains to the best procedure to help you find a job, and here are the alternatives. 1, find out what positions are open and then find out about your abilities and your interests. 2, apply for a lot of different jobs. You might find one you like. 3, discover your interests and abilities. Select your occupation group and then find out about possible job openings. What do you think is the best way to go about looking for a job, Susan?
The last idea, number 3. First, discover what your own interests and abilities are. Then select your occupation group based on those interests and abilities. Finally, seek job openings that fit your plans.
Very good, Susan. Now, audience, here's a question for you. Question number 4. Information about job opportunities in public service can be found at A, Federal Job Information Centers, B, City Personnel Offices, C, State Employment Centers or offices, D, all three. The answer is obviously D. Federal Job Information Centers, City Personnel Offices, and State Employment Centers and offices all have information about public service job opportunities. Just ask for an employment form. They're as easy to complete as listing your name, address, and other information you want people to know so they get to know you. If you're really interested, pick up one this week and study it. Take your time. If you have any questions, ask the person where you got the form, then answer it at your own pace. But answer it, and mail it in or file it with your local public service office.
Now, once you've chosen and made application, the next step is the examination. Remember, most employees of public service organizations operate under the civil service system, which means that examinations are important. But consider and put it into perspective. It's just a test. When you were in school, how many tests did you take? Hundreds, right? So this is just another test. And the good thing about it is, if you feel you could have done better, you can always take it again next year. But there are some rules you should be aware of. First, be sure to check the date the application should be in by, because there are specific closing dates. Though there are no legal discriminations because of age, most individuals are between the ages of 18 and 65 when hired. 18 is the usual minimum, but students 16 or 17 and out of school can be hired. Check for the specifics. Normally, only American citizens can apply for competitive examinations in federal civil service, and other public service agencies may require you to declare your interest in becoming a U.S. citizen. And of course, you must be physically able to perform the job you've applied for. Oh, and one last thing. Your application is part of your examination, so be sure it's complete, honest, and up to date. Okay, time's up. Pass in your papers, please. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Do you have any further questions about the examination?
No.
Okay, good luck.
Thank you.
Boy, am I glad that's over. But, you know, it wasn't as bad as I expected it was going to be.
You know, following the suggestions helped. Reviewing the material in the examination announcement, there were some good hints for study material.
Especially when you've had a good night's sleep and you get here early enough to relax.
I like the part about dressing comfortably and leaving the things we don't need at home.
Yeah, and I learned that if you didn't understand something, you just ask the monitor, they help you. And I also learned to read the questions very carefully.
Well, good luck to both of you.
Good luck to you,
You too. Good luck, Susan.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
There are some public service jobs that require written tests, like the one we just took. But there are some public service jobs that base your rating on experience, training, education, as well as the oral interview. That's called the unassembled test. As I said, it depends on what job you're trying for, whether you take a written test or not. But everyone takes the oral interview, and that's important, because 40% or more of your score may be assigned by this part of the examination. Here are some hints you might find helpful before you take your oral examination. You can't look for a job dressed like you're doing the town. You'll draw attention to yourself, but not to your job qualifications and abilities. If you dress like you're ready to take off for the nearest ballpark or racetrack, your interviewer will wonder if you're really ready to go to work. Don't tell them you're the greatest. Most public service sections have been in existence for 100 years. Simple self-confidence will impress them more than any boasting. Don't puff yourself up or make yourself out to be too big a deal. But don't put yourself down either. Remember, they need you just as much as you need them.
Some other things to remember. Smile. Listen. Ask questions. Look the other person in the eyes while he or she is talking to you to show you're really paying attention. Use your own natural language, your own words, but make sure they're words that fit the occasion.
And bring your Social Security card, health certificate if they're needed, paper to work out notes on, and, say, Hank, have you an extra pencil?
Pencil? Oh, pencils, yeah. Bring one or more than that if you two, if you have them. Three, yep. 3 and 4, 3 and 4. Bring a whole bunch if you have to. If you're a real point breaker, you'll need them. Come to the test room ready to take the test.
One last thought. If there are any dates of jobs you've held that you're not sure about, write them down. Or references, names and addresses, phone numbers, write them down. And remember to bring them along with you.
And good luck.
Well, I feel we did it. Did what, Susan? Well, we self-evaluated.
Right, we self-evaluated.
And when we weren't sure, we checked our occupational preference test and then double-checked with an aptitude test.
We know where we want to go, that's for sure.
And then we checked with our occupational grouping.
Yep, we sure picked our group, and then found out about any possible open positions.
Headed right over to the federal, state, or city personnel or employment office and got our applications.
We got them.
Filled them in, sent them in, and took our civil service test.
The written, the unassembled, and the oral.
As I said, we did it all.
Yeah. Good feeling,
Really
huh?
did.
Just one thing.
Oh, what's that?
Yeah,
tell us,
Susan, did
what
we
is
forget
it?
something?
Well, I was just wondering. I hope we passed.
Oh, come on, no
of course
problem.
we
What
did.
about it?
I'm
Sure.
sure we did.
Oh, by the way, Sue, The mailman left this for you.
It's for Mammy.
Public service.
Come on, let's go.
Let's see what you did. I passed.
Out of sight.
Fantastic.
It's not easy, but hundreds of thousands of people have made it. If you're interested, maybe a career in public service is just for you. If you follow the routines we outlined today and do a little checking on your own, it might help put you in public service.
When you pick up the phone and get the police,
Or you get a letter from your favorite niece.
Or census checks, population increase.
P.S. That's public service. When you get all the facts about aspirants.
Or a new bus service is about to begin.
or Internal Revenue calls you in.
P.S. That's public service. We're here because you need what we do.
We're here to provide that service for you,
Just for you.
just for you.
When you get a license to sell wine and beer.
Or warnings are heard about smog in the air.
Or you get free help with a new career.
P.S. That's public service. When you climb in a jet and take a safe flight.
Or the book you wrote needs a copyright.
Or farmers get help in fighting the blight.
P.S. That's public service. We're here because you need what we do. We're here to provide that service for you.
Just for you,
Just for you. P.S. We may even have a job for you too. P.S. That's public service. P.S. That's